Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the political situation at this time, with the emergence of another wing or another political party, so to speak. What can one say as far as the PTI is concerned? What it means for the overall politics at this time, of course, with the very important bat symbol case still pending. We'll be talking about that. Overall, as far as the campaign is concerned, as far as, of course, the awarding of tickets is concerned, and also particularly now considering the time issue for all political parties, what this particular case will mean for PTI and what it will mean for the overall landscape this close to the elections. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about other main political parties and their start of campaigning and manifestos and what they are choosing to say to the people as they start their campaigns. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Naveed Aman, who's a political analyst. Thank you so much for being with us today. We also have with us Yasser Latif Hamdani, who's a legal expert. Thank you for joining us today. And Dr. Abid Abbasi, who's a legal expert. Thank you for being with us. A little later on, we'll be joined by other guests. Yasser, I'll start off with you. How do you look at this development? I mean, I think one has to discuss this because it's very 11th hour, it's very out of the blue, and we have a new, what can one say, a new political party, a new wing of a political party. What would you say?
Well, this is obviously has taken everyone by surprise, right? Though I think that this might not have been that big. It must have been in the offing for a while. PTI Nazirati, as in ideological. Now, we've seen during the ticket allocation, however it's done. I mean, there's been some talk about the founder, the PTI founder, not knowing about the ticket allocation. But some of the ticket allocation, I mean, this is something that is of particular interest to me as a lawyer as well. A number of the allottees are actually lawyers this time around.
Yes.
So that I think there's a certain amount of disaffection that the rank and file of PTI is feeling at the moment, and they are definitely sort of so is this particularly targeted at that segment within the PTI to
that is not happy with the awarding of tickets?
Exactly. So and the name Nazirati, ideological, I mean, that always is, because the thing with PTI, if you look at it, it was a charismatic party. Of all the parties, it was centered around this one charismatic leader. But there was this whole idea of change, and there were people who had started off, Akbar S. Babur, and those people as well. So there was always this group within the PTI. Remember Miraj Muhammad Khan was once part of the PTI. So these people always felt that they were sidelined for electables, for other people. Now it's, in this iteration, it seems like the lawyers are the ones, who are the...
But we also have now a decision of earlier today, the Election Commission, saying that one particular party, issue as far as the awarding of tickets is concerned. So there's clarity on that, right? As far as, they're saying that two parties, one party cannot award tickets through this measure of having another name and, under the guise of another name, awarding of tickets. I think there's clarity on that.
There is clarity on that, and I think that was in particular when you talk about, and this was actually, it came out a couple of hours ago, but I think the closest comparison that I would imagine is what is going to happen with Pakistan People's Party parliamentarians and then the Pakistan People's Party. That is going to be very interesting. But I think that this itself, this particular group, the Nazirati group, is going to try and break those or affect those particular individuals who are very, very unhappy at the moment.
So those people, you're saying, let me include Naveed Saab in this discussion also. Naveed Saab, so those people who were not given tickets by the earlier PTI have been given tickets, as I understand. I mean, I'm trying to understand this phenomena by this PTI Nazirati, and those people will also be contesting on the same seat. So of course, that means that the vote bank itself will of course be divided further.
No, it will create more confusion.
Okay.
And the PTI, actual PTI or the original PTI is the PTI which Imran Khan or the now Mr. Gohar he leads.
But isn't PTI Nazariati now associated at all with the Imran Khan sahab?
No.
It's not.
PTI Nazariati is a different party.
It's a group of
Yes,
those unhappy PTI, old PTI people who, like Yasser said, are more, have thought that they're more ideological and therefore they don't agree with the style of politics that the former Prime Minister Imran Khan was later known for. Am I right?
It is. It is. But the one we know and we understand or we acknowledge is the PTI, which is related to Imran Khan or Gohar Khan or the other leaders of original PTI. The PTI Nazariati, which has come now in the arena, is a new thing or a new party. Nobody knows from where they have emerged, and they have any sanctity or they have any position in political arena or not. The elections are not very far.
No,
on the 8th of February, the elections are being held.
And the date of filing of nominations, and of course now, withdrawal, and I think there's been an extension of some hours. So I think there was till 7 o'clock, till 9 o'clock. Let me go to Abid Saab. Abid Saab, can you hear me? Abid Saab, can you hear me? I don't think. Let me go to Javed Saab, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Javed Saab, how are you looking at this development in this 11th hour at this time with the emergence of this PTI Nazariati now?
I think I was just looking at the news conducted by the chairperson of the faction, and I think he denied that any agreement between the two parties existed. So I think so far this issue is concerned seems to be over.
There is but the press conference now, it seems that there have been awarded tickets have been awarded under that name, and it's a new political party. Is it going to be allowed to run then at this time?
I think the Election Commission has already issued certain instructions to the ROs, and they have been told not to entertain Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf candidates' nominations as far as the Nazariati faction is concerned. And they have definitely quoted certain rules and regulations as well. In my personal opinion, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf should have waited for the verdict of the Supreme Court of Pakistan, and they should have formulated their strategy after that verdict, which is about to be announced shortly. And there's a likelihood that Supreme Court would also extend the date of filing the nominations, the final list, as far as the final list is concerned. So I don't see why there was such a hurry on part of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, and that is why there's a lot of confusion going on in the media. Once it was reported by Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf that they had certain agreement with the Nazariati faction, and they directed their candidates to file their tickets with the ROs, but then eventually the chairperson comes out and says there's no agreement existed between the two. So I believe there's a lot of confusion. It's very hard to say what exactly is happening on the ground.
Back to you. Abid Saab, can you hear me now? Abid Abbasi Saab, can you hear me? No, I think. Yasser, in terms of, other, maybe, there is, according to Javed Saab, he's saying that as far as the Election Commission is concerned, they've said not to entertain candidates from this Nazariati party. Even if that does, of course, whatever the Election Commission says at this time, this will lead to confusion, will it not, in your opinion?
I think it's, and that, that I think is the idea, right? I mean, this further muddies the waters. I mean, we still don't know if PTI is going to go into this election with the cricket bat or not, but with this now, which PTI is the real PTI and which PTI is not, I think that this is definitely going to be sort of a minefield for the voters of PTI.
How are you looking at the case till now that is in process? Of course, we'll know the verdict soon enough. In terms of, the way that it's being looked at by the Supreme Court at this time, what is your opinion overall?
Well, I think at the moment, and this is sort of the remarks that have come from the bench, obviously I must say that the Chief Justice himself is reticent about sort of, giving all sort of indications, about which way he's going to go. However, from what I can see, I think PTI right now is in trouble with the bat symbol. I think that there are certain issues. I mean, it's not a good, sort of good riposte to say that other parties have done it too. The fact of the matter is that there are certain irregularities with the election process, and so long as that remains, there would always be a chance for a technical knockout. PTI should have, if they should have gone into that intra-party elections knowing that they are under the spotlight, and they should have held elections in a way that would satisfy. Now, the interesting part about this case is obviously we are relying on section 215 of the Election Act. That's where it's turning. Now, that itself talks...
Is it ambiguous in your opinion itself?
I think more importantly, I think that refers us back to, I think, section 209 and 210 of the Election Act. And I believe that PTI, so on the face of it, there's also the question of sources of funds and that sort of thing. But I believe that on the question of whether there is a party that has had elections, PTI does satisfy that threshold.
But the scrutiny of how they were held and whether they were satisfactory, satisfactory or not, are the issues at this time.
Precisely, and that's where PTI, if they were serious about this, I mean, they're going in, they chose Mr. Gohar Khan as their chairman. I don't understand why they were not. Why didn't?
And they've also been held, Naveed Sahab, in a small village somewhere. I mean,
Buneer.
Yes. That's what we found out from the court proceedings. So there's a lot of, there needs to be a lot of clarity there. But I think one of the issues they are, I think, saying, and I think Yasser is right when he says that that's not enough when they say that other political parties have done it. The question is that they are under scrutiny at this time.
Number one, Marukh, the most important thing is this, that PTI was in trouble since May 9. PTI or the leadership of PTI should have taken very, very calculated measures in every step they have been facing to. As far as the intra-party elections are concerned, they have not taken those careful measures which they should have taken, because they were already in trouble, and in a haste they decided the elections to go ahead in such a way which was not transparent, and there are many questions on the transparency or on the procedural matters of intra-party elections in PTI. That is why now PTI is in trouble, and PTI has no answer in Supreme Court to satisfy the bench, or the Chief Justice is making cross questions to the PTI pleaders or the advocates, but they are unable to satisfy the honorable bench. It shows that PTI on the symbol matter is in trouble, and if the symbol is taken from them at this stage, it will be a big blow to the PTI or the leadership as well. I don't think that Imran Khan or Mr. Gohar both have taken that matter very serious before the intra-party elections. They should have taken it serious, and they are facing the serious consequences of that lapse of conducting that party elections.
Fair enough. Let me go to Javed Sahab. Javed Sahab, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Javed Sahab, this overall, in terms of, the acceptance of the candidates' nomination papers, their appeals, there was earlier, of course, the issue of the level playing field, which was raised by the PTI. after the acceptance of most of their, I think a record number of nomination papers that were filed, of course, that's not been relevant. With this BAT issue, the court, whatever it holds, if there is a decision against PTI, we don't know what will happen, but if there is one very soon, you think it will again resurface the same, again, this allegation and the fact that as a political party, the victim card that, of course, we've been hearing about from this particular political party?
I think as far as Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is concerned, it is their existential fight. They are struggling to stay in the political arena and to go into the elections with their symbol as well. I really can't predict what the Supreme Court of Pakistan is going to say about the whole situation. The short order is expected anytime soon, but the party is definitely in serious trouble. Excuse me. And it seems that they have been trying very desperately, as you pointed out, their agreement with the other faction of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, which was ultimately denied by its president, Mr. Dar. And now I think there's hardly any option left as far as Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is concerned to bank on the Supreme Court to give them the relief and to go with the verdict of the Peshawar High Court so that they are able to use their own symbol, a bat, because it's not only a question of the symbol. It is basically the issue that if they go to the polls without the symbol, every candidate is going to contest as independent candidate. And as far as independent candidates are concerned, they would be vulnerable because once they get elected, they will have to join one of the other political party as per the Election Commission rules. And then comes a real test for Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf because the independents are always susceptible to pressure, to certain pressures. We know that how it happens in Pakistan because independents are never are trusted as far as their loyalties are concerned. So I think as far as Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is concerned, their entire fate hinges on the verdict of the Supreme Court of Pakistan. If they get a symbol even then, I don't see their difficulties ending anytime soon.
Javed sir, thank you for your very valuable input. Yasser, even if this case goes for them, as far as momentum is concerned, even other political parties, this particular election, do you think that, compared to perhaps last few elections that we've had, how are you looking at the momentum, so to speak? The way that it, the other political parties, main political parties have started their campaign and all of that?
Well, I think even though the other parties have started, in particular People's Party has, and I think PMLN is basically going to in earnest start on the 15th with their manifesto being released. But I think there's a general sort of lack of interest in campaigning by all parties considered. I mean, except for the People's Party, again, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari's all across in Punjab.
Do you think it's because the awarding of tickets has been perhaps has taken so much time in this instance?
I think so, and I think there was always this question mark, right? There was general sort of question mark on whether the elections would happen or not, even though the Supreme Court has said so, and it is pretty much.
You're saying the doubt factor, the uncertainty has been there.
Yes, uncertainty was the main factor, which could not provide that atmosphere or momentum for the political parties to come out in the masses and go for the electoral process. And another thing was that Mian Nawaz Sharif, he has been waiting for that decision of the court, which was not made earlier. If it had been made earlier, I think Nawaz Sharif would have come out far earlier. And he because he remained on the back, the entire party waited for him. People's Party, yes, is ahead of every party in the masses. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari,
But when
he
we
has
talk, Yasser mentioned manifesto, and I want to take Abid Sahab on this also. I'll come back to you. Abid Sahab, as far as manifestos, how important do you think manifestos are, the role that manifestos are going to play in this election, in your opinion, and what the major political parties say to the people, to their voters? How much of it is going to matter in your opinion, and how much of it is going to be the election day, the electable, how the way that elections are actually contested, all of those realities versus what the manifestos bring to the people?
Thank you very much, Marukh. I think it's very unfortunate that manifestos have not played much role in the elections, but we can't say that there is no role of manifesto, because we have seen that in previous elections, 2018, what the former Prime Minister and head of PTI, Imran Khan, has promised to the people of Pakistan, that 100 lakh jobs and 55 million houses for them. We have seen on the ground that people were, given some sort of weightage to that as well. And the otherwise Pakistan People's Party, that has always been, relying on manifesto, but the question is that how those manifestos are connected with the performance of those political parties when they were in power, what they have done actually for the people of Pakistan, and when they are giving those manifestos, those promises in their manifestos, if having some sort of, reality, having some sort of ground-based reality connecting to those manifestos, only then people can, get attracted towards those manifestos. What Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, as my colleague was saying, that he is in the run in the masses, he is launching his campaign so, smartly as he did in previous elections.
40%, I think, is the new young voter. Do you think the manifestos may play a large role in trying to get that voter?
I think with the passage of time, when the institution of democracy is growing in Pakistan, people are getting more conscious about democracy, more, educated about the value of democracy and value of manifestos and all other norms associated with the institution of democracy. So what Bilawal Bhutto is trying to tell the people that he has started constructing about 2 million, rather more than 2 million houses in Sindh, particularly the flood-affected areas, and he is in position, he is capable to deliver the houses to the houseless people in the rest of Pakistan, as he has promised about it.
As far as the PMLN is concerned, their manifesto, of course, is scheduled to be given out to the people in the next couple of days, and we will, of course, know what they say. In terms of course, we know by and large they're talking about the earlier style of governance under the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab, and what they built and how they built as far as business community is concerned, all of that is concerned. And I understand that once that comes out, once the manifesto comes out, then we'll be able to see, what these major political parties say.
Manifestos are very important for every party in masses as well.
Once manifestos are in the run. And
right, let me come back to you, Abid Sahab, on that. Ji.
Manifestos are always very important for the political parties as well as for the masses as well. Because you go in the masses and you give them the program, what will you offer to your voters or the public of the country. It should be workable. It should not be, based on imaginative facts and figures like 5 million houses or 10 million jobs or such things. Now, one thing which I have felt in Bilawal Bhutto's speeches, he is again repeating such sort of things, that he will offer these things to the masses. I don't think those are also workable. The workable manifesto should come
But we expect there to be some electioneering. We expect there to be some politics.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is. And same is the case with Mr. Mian Nawaz Sharif. In a couple of days, he'll come in the masses and he will give again that agenda. If it is not workable, it will harm PMLN as it harmed PTI in 2018 elections. What they spoke could not prove and could not come true, and that is why everybody was demanding.
Short-term goal
Yes.
has to not be, it has to be a long-term goal for all political parties. Yasser, there's also, at this time, as far as political parties are concerned, what they say to the voter. There's also, things like charter of economy, reform. On those things, you think there's by and large agreement between the major political parties?
Well, I think there is, and obviously one would have to see the manifestos. And in my opinion, the manifestos are that compact between the political parties and the voters in a democracy. But I believe that there would be a general consensus on where the country needs to go. I think that is something that all our players know right now. I mean, we have the IMF thing, that's a sword that is hanging. That has to be taken into account. There have to be unpopular decisions that only an elected government can make. So all of those things, I think, by and large, the parties understand. Now, one of the positives that and there are several positives so far, but obviously, maybe, knock on wood, one is sort of too optimistic. But I believe, and I hope that that's the case, there would be no misuse or instrumentalization of religion. That is a perennial problem that we face in this society. And I think, by and large, the identity politics would take a back seat in these elections. That's something that is obvious, I think, because what we will see is sort of a big tent policy by all three parties, and that is something that sort of is coming out with, especially with the People's Party, the way it's gone.
Do you think that it means that there will be a strong government, or do you think that it's perhaps will be at this time, of course, it's too early to say, but overall, in terms of the numbers, it might be a government that's divided?
I think it's going to be, unfortunately, a parliament, and again, it depends on where the PTI lands, of course. I do believe that there is going to be a certain trend towards the re-establishment of a two-party system, which got lost, with the rise of the PTI. I think we will see a general grouping between PPP allies and PMLN allies, and obviously, it looks like that the PMLN section would prevail, in that sense. But I think it's not going to be a 2/3 majority. It's definitely not going to be an overwhelming majority. It might be, it is going to be better than a razor thin majority, but it's definitely
I think it will be better than the PTI government numbers, because PTI government didn't have many numbers with them to survive. But PMLN will have more numbers to survive, and it will be good for democracy and for the next government to deliver.
Let me go to Abid Sahab. Abid Sahab, do you think, what kind of a government do you see, after the elections? Do you think we're going to go back to, like Yasser said, perhaps a two-party style of governance, so to speak? How do you look at it?
I think there is a good number of independent candidates would be in the parliament, and let's see where they join hands either with People's Party or PMLN, because a good number of people from PTI would be contesting elections on independent, as independent candidates. So I agree with my colleagues that there won't be a possibility of a clear-cut majority to any political party in coming parliament. There would be, a parliament comprising of many fractions, many sort of groups. Obviously, PMLN and People's Party would be the parties with some, sizable majority, but there would be some other political sort of groups and independent candidates, there is a possibility of them as well to come in the parliament. But again, the situation of the country requires that there should be a very clear-cut majority to a political party so that they would be responsibly deal the situation which we are facing today, because Pakistan is passing through perhaps one of the most serious crises of our history, because the economy is, on deathbed. The situation that we are dependent on IMF for a very, tiny amount of.
If there's broad-based agreement on, the core issues between the major political parties on economy, on, reform, all of that agenda, then perhaps it will be easy to bring those into the parliament and to move towards that kind of a solution, no?
We have been listening such kind of powerful voices from various political parties, particularly from Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz and Pakistan People's Party, that there should be a charter of economy as they have done a charter of democracy previously. But unfortunately, the PTI has not shown. The PTI has not shown that much, interest to sit down when they were in government. And they created the problems for a consensus. But this is the right time that whoever comes into power, who has returned, as a victorious, they should sit down and should try to get a consensus on the charter of economy and a broad-based, agreement, as you have said in your question. That is the need of the day, I guess.
Fair enough. Naveed sir, in terms of the voter turnout, what do you expect at this time? Of course, like I said, it's too early also, and the momentum perhaps will be built when all political parties are in the foray and that we see the active campaign. But what do you think? Is there going to be, in terms of the kind of voter turnout we're expecting? What kind of a voter?
I think Marukh, voter turnout will be high. Okay. Because new voters are included now. The young blood has come to vote. They are very, enthusiastic to come to participate in the elections. Those who were not in the position in 2018, now they are in the position to vote in 2023. So they will come and they will vote for their candidates. This is very important. One thing is very important as far as the future government is concerned. Whosoever comes in the government, most probably PMLN, if they win more seats, they will come in the government. PTI, if they don't come in the government, they will have an opportunity to be the part of that opposition, which is equally good or equally important in any democracy. And it will be good opportunity for them to learn or to deliver or to play their important role as an opposition party, and that I think that their role will be more important for them as compared to their role in 2018 in government.
Yasser, this also, let's look at the legal side of this time. As far as this case is concerned, the recent happenings in the Supreme Court also. As a lawyer, even if we don't talk about, the partisan, what it is exposed within the Supreme Court, the shortcomings that it has exposed overall within our judicial system, I would say. I think I'll correct myself, not Supreme Court, but overall, as far as our judicial system is concerned, the inadequacies of our judicial system, so to speak. It also talks about why we need to go towards judicial reform very quickly. And with so many lawyers, I think all political parties have awarded ticket to many lawyers. You think we're going to be looking at a lot of lawyers in the parliament? Perhaps, with this will be a welcome move towards that kind of reform.
Well, I think, just that first part of what you said in terms of, you see, the thing is that you're never going to have a perfect system of judiciary. And I'll give you an example, and this is from the first world. The United States of America, state of Colorado has disqualified Mr. Trump on the basis of the 14th Amendment. Now that case has landed before the US Supreme Court, where a majority is now conservative, and some of those judges have been appointed by Mr. Trump himself. Now, what we see is, and this is what is going to happen, that disqualification is ultimately going to be shot down. Now, you're never going to have a judicial system that is going to be above those biases, you know. Now, the other part of your question, and I was thinking about it, I think some of those lawyers on those lists are actually very, very capable people who would be great legislators. Generally speaking, all around the world, especially in the Anglo-Saxon world, where you have the common law and you have that, you see a lot of lawyers becoming politicians because they're good legislators. That's the link. So I think, and we have examples, starting with Mr. Jinnah himself, extraordinary legislator because he was an extraordinary lawyer. So you are going to, but again, I think that perhaps I hope that some of these lawyers get elected, and I think we've had examples of these lawyers coming into the parliament, people like Yasser and so on and so forth. I do hope some of these lawyers get elected and they would be good legislators, but I do fear that perhaps the public opinion within these parties is not ready to accept this leadership, because there is a general crisis. There's a general intellectual crisis in Pakistan, and that when I say that, I don't mean it in sort of any kind of snobbery. I think that given the electable politics that is happening.
You're saying that there's okay. Are you saying that there is an intellectual crisis in the political realm, or you're saying that there's generally an intellectual crisis?
Both. On both levels.
Okay.
I think there is, and I think that's unfortunate. I think we've, and this is, now this kind of veers off topic, but what we have done, and this is ultimately, one of the presidents of Pakistan, who is generally not considered such a great president because of the damage that he did to democracy. But he said something, and this is Iskandar Mirza I'm talking about. You read his memoirs, which have come out recently. And one of the things he says is that democracy without education, without literacy, is hypocrisy. And unfortunately what we've done in this society is none of our political parties, none of our, even political, don't talk about political parties, we've been ruled by, quasi-military dictatorships for a while. None of them have actually invested where, why is it that our people, even the educated ones, have no clue about their constitutional right, no clue about civic responsibility?
But doesn't it have to do with education, Naveed?
Yes, definitely. None of them have been interested in bringing,
we don't have education to to the grassroots level. We've not been able to educate our people. We've not been able to educate our voter. Therefore, the question that manifestos, are they going to play a part, or is it going to be about your generally clan vote, or your electable vote, or your that or your party vote, so to speak? Is that going to be the consideration, or is it going to be your manifesto at all?
Education is the main thing for any nation to come out or to compare the entire world. If you don't educate your masses, they will be unable to.
But I think maybe we are also, I want to take Abid Saab's opinion on this, but are we not underestimating our voter this time, Abid Saab? You think that, when we say that perhaps those considerations are going to reign supreme, are we underestimating our voter, in your opinion?
I think education is very important for any society and for political understanding as well. But the continuity of the democratic institutions, the political process in the country without any break is also a great source of political education. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, we haven't seen a continuity of the institution of democracy. That is also another reason for the voters not to be well versed, not to be well understanding about the politics, about the constitution, about the manifesto, and about goods and bads, to distinguish between goods and the bads, politics or politicians. So this is another reason, because we have been, Pakistan has been ruled but more than 35 years by...
This is also an age of social media. This is also an age of, access to a lot of information. And if we compare it to the last election, perhaps more so this time. So in that sense, you know, there is a lot of...
having both positive and negative implications.
Agreed.
The positive implications that people do have access to a lot of, information, and they do know and do listen to various point of views, various segments, various aspects of any segment. But at the same time, the misinformation, the flow of disinformation and misinformation and agenda-oriented kind of, stuff on the social media, that is also playing a role. But I think if the democratic institution is continuing in the country, the political process is continuing in the country, that would be a great source of political education for the common masses. This is, a well-settled standard across the world. If the institution of politics, because in Pakistan, the institution of politics has been made a stigma for the common masses. The people do not, like the politicians. Either it was the only politicians whose character is responsible for that, or either, the institution of politics and the politicians were maneuvered, were defamed continuously, because we have seen for martial law as well in the country. So political process, education is very important. There is no question about that. There is no second opinion about that, that education must be, the good amount must be invested into education.
Abid Sahab, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us. Naveed Aman Sahab, thank you for joining us. Yasser, Latif, Hamdani, thank you for being with us. Dr. Abid Abbasi, Javed Jadoon, thank you for being with us today. Overall, what happens as far as the bat symbol is concerned, we'll know in a little bit with the decision of the Supreme Court. But of course, as far as political parties are concerned, it's going to be in the next week or so, we're going to be looking at new manifestos. We're going to be looking at active campaigning and perhaps a build-up of the kind of overall, election mood, the kind of momentum that is needed for the elections, and perhaps then we will know more about, what kind of an electoral result one can expect at, in these elections. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for joining.